using Hugging Face to convert audio to text using UI, right? Using their user interface, you here you recorded your voice and you got text corresponding to them. So today we'll try the same thing through code. Right? So I have sent an email to Azli. He must have forwarded to all of you. Have you got it? Email from Azli. Have you got it? It has the code.
No, Adli is still.
Okay, he is not here.
He's
Can I
still
get
having
someone's
his
email?
lunch.
We'll start with this video. Nishant has explained how blockchain is tamper-proof. So this video clearly explains how the technology has been developed.
Popular nowadays. But what is a blockchain? How do they work? What problems do they solve? And how can they be used? Like the name indicates, a blockchain is a chain of blocks that contains. This technique was originally described in 1991 by a group of researchers and was originally intended to timestamp digital documents so that it's not possible to backdate them or to tamper with them, almost like a notary. However, it went by mostly unused until it was adapted by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009 to create the digital cryptocurrency Bitcoin. Now, a blockchain is a distributed ledger that is completely open to anyone. They have an interesting property. Once some data has been recorded inside the blockchain, it becomes very difficult to change it. So how does that work? Well, let's take a closer look at a block. Each block contains some data, the hash of the block, and the hash of the previous block. The data that is stored inside a block depends on the type of the blockchain. The Bitcoin blockchain, for example, stores the details about a transaction medium, such as the sender, receiver, and the amount of coins. A block also has a hash. You can compare a hash to a fingerprint. It identifies a block and all of its contents, and it's always unique, just as a fingerprint. Once a block is created, its hash is being calculated. Changing something inside the block will cause the hash to change. So in other words, hashes are very useful when you want to detect changes to blocks. If the fingerprint of a block changes, it no longer is the same block. The third element inside each block is the hash of the previous block. And this effectively creates a chain of blocks, and it's this technique that makes a blockchain so secure. Let's take an example. Here we have a chain of 3 blocks. As you can see, each block has a hash and the hash of the previous block. So block number 3 points to block number 2, and number 2 points to number 1. Now the first block is a bit special. It cannot point to previous blocks because, well, it's the first one. We call this block the genesis block. Now, let's say that you tamper with the second block. This causes the hash of the block to change as well. In turn, that will make block 3 and all following blocks invalid because they no longer store a valid hash of the previous block. So changing a single block will make all following blocks invalid. But using hashes is not enough to prevent tampering. Computers these days are very fast and can calculate hundreds of thousands of hashes per second. You can effectively tamper with a block and recalculate all the hashes of other blocks to make your blockchain valid again. So to mitigate this, blockchains have something that is called proof of work. It's a mechanism that slows down the creation of blocks. In Bitcoin's case, it takes about 10 minutes to calculate the required proof of work and add a new block to the chain. This mechanism makes it very hard to tamper with the blocks because if you tamper with one block, you'll need to recalculate the proof of work for all the following blocks. So the security of a blockchain comes from its creative use of hashing and the proof of work mechanism. But there is one more way that blockchains secure themselves, and that is by being distributed. Instead of using a central entity to manage the chain, blockchains use a peer-to-peer network and everyone is allowed to join. When someone joins this network, he gets a full copy of the blockchain. The node can use this to verify that everything is still in order. Now, let's see what happens when someone creates a new block. That block is sent to everyone on the network. Each node then verifies the block to make sure that it hasn't been tampered with. And if everything checks out, each node adds this block to their own blockchain. All the nodes in this network create consensus. They agree about what blocks are valid and which aren't. Blocks that are tampered with will be rejected by other nodes in the network. So to successfully tamper with a blockchain, you'll need to tamper with all the blocks on the chain, redo the proof of work for each block, and take control of more than 50% of the peer-to-peer network. Only then will your tampered block become accepted by everyone else. So this is almost impossible to do. Blockchains are also constantly evolving. One of the most recent developments is the creation of smart contracts. These contracts are simple programs that are stored on the blockchain and are used to automatically exchange coins based on certain conditions. More on smart contracts in a later video. The creation of blockchain technology piqued a lot of people's interest. Soon others realized that this technology could be used for other things, like storing medical records, creating a digital notary, or even collecting taxes. So now you know what a blockchain is, how it works on a basic level, and what problems it solves.
So blockchain we covered, IoT, let's see. You wear that Google, Apple smartwatch, Garmin watch, right? When you are walking, it senses calorie burn, heart rate, and all that. So how that happens? These are the variables. Typically, that sensor is there, chip, and then that data is synced with your mobile phone, and the server is in cloud, which is the company's server. So this is the architecture layout of that. These are the variables, and plus there are IoT on your refrigerator, television, security systems. This is the IoT sensor and other equipment. The rest of the applications, rest of the architecture is same as any other application. So any web application versus IoT application, the difference is the hardware here and some bit of software programming in the center, right? Now we have a very cool video which shows how IoT is being used in home solutions, some bit of office automation already. So it should be coming our way very soon, but let's see. This is fantastic, to get that kind of convenience.
Building your business online? Go to Wix.com and get your site up and running with the tailored creation experience.
they are the moral principles that govern our actions, right? They tell us what to do, what not to do in a situation, what should we choose. That is the thing. So, whenever any scientific research or innovation comes, it comes because it wants to make human life better, human life easier. But in many cases, we have seen that it also gives us ethical dilemma. For example, in stem cell research, so stem cells are cells that are extracted from embryo, and then they are transplanted to patients who are maybe cancer patients or heart patients. So for treating them, stem cells are transplanted in them. But the ethical dilemma here is, are embryos human? So some people consider that as soon as the baby is conceived, it should be considered as human. Embryos are when the pregnancy is of 8 weeks. After that, embryos get converted to fetus. So, what are your thoughts? Should we consider embryos as humans?
Yeah, from the start.
Yeah, but many people say that no, until it gets converted to fetus, that is after 8 weeks, it does not become human. And we are using the stem cells for someone's benefits, to treat ailments like cancer and heart disease. So we should keep using this. Okay, there is no correct answer. Some people support this, some people do not. So this is an ethical dilemma. Again, genetically modified food. So biotechnology, using biotechnology and genetic engineering, the new types of foods are being grown, in which the genetic structure of food of crops are changed, that increase yield of crops and also make them pest free. So okay, one ethical dilemma here is, because the genetic structure of crops have been changed, they might be hazardous for animals who feed on those crops. So one GM crop was developed that resulted into dying of butterflies. So when butterflies were sitting on the crop, they used to die because it was poisonous for them. So the ethical dilemma here is, should we continue using GM crops because they lead to increase in yield, or should we not develop them because they are hazardous for some animals? Again, third example, nuclear technology. So it can be used both to produce energy, electricity, and also to, in wars. Then animal rights. During COVID vaccine research, in shark liver there is a oil present which increases immunity of humans. So when COVID-19 research was being undertaken, thousands of sharks were killed so that their liver oil can be used. So the ethical dilemma here is, whose life is more important, humans or sharks? Then medical trials. Whenever any pharmaceutical company creates any new medicine, then they have to try it on someone. Generally they are tried on rats, monkeys, or poor people. So yeah, the ethical dilemma here is, whose life is more important, because you have to try the medicines on someone. Until you try, you won't know if it works or not. Lastly, disease research. Many times in future, so that we don't get a disease, research is being conducted in present time. So on microorganisms, fine. but sometimes the microorganisms can escape, and that can lead to viral effects in the world. So again, the dilemma is whether we should continue doing this research or we should stop this, because the virus may escape and it may lead to a pandemic. So there are no right answers. Everyone faces this ethical dilemma in scientific research and innovation cases, but we should at least know this, that okay, this is the situation. Okay, so whenever a robot is developed, these are the 3 laws that it should follow. Although fictional laws only, but these are the laws that it should follow. First, it should not become that intelligent that it starts injuring humans. Second, it should always follow orders of humans. And third, it should always protect itself until the third point gets conflict with first and second point. So we will see a movie where the robot refuses to follow these laws.
Clip, yeah.
So where's everybody?
This facility was designed, built, and is operated mechanically. There's significant human presence from conception to production.
Robots building robots.
Organization increase.
That's just stupid.
I'm pulling up the inventory specs. Our daily finishing capacity is 1,000 MS5s. I'm showing 1,000.
Attention NS5.
Now you get a robot shrink.
There is a robot in this formation that does not belong. Identify it.
YouTube real time.
Which one?
How much did you say these things cost?
Look, these NS5s haven't been configured yet. They're still just hardware. Basic emails operating system. That's it. Don't know.
What would you suggest?
Interview each one. Cross-reference their responses to detect any anomalies.
How long would that take? Okay. Go get started. Robots! You will not move. Confirm command.
Detective, what are you doing?
He said they've all been programmed with the 3 laws. So that means we have 1,000 robots that will not try to protect themselves if it violates a direct order from a human. I'm that one who will.
Detective, put your gun down.
Why do you give them faces? Gotta friendly them all up, make them look all human.
These robots are not susceptible to
I
intimidation.
guess if you did, we wouldn't trust them.
These robots are USR property.
Not me. These things are just lights and clockwork.
Crazy.
Let me ask you something, Doc. Does thinking you're the last sane man on the face of the earth make you crazy? Because if it does, maybe I am. Gotcha. Get the hell out of here!
Detective!
So, Dr. Calvin, what exactly do you do around here?
My general fields are advanced robotics and psychiatry, although I specialize in hardware to webware interfaces in an effort to advance USR's robotic anthropomorphization program.
So, what exactly do you do around here?
Assistant, but and this was with Volvo. Their cars could not detect, but luckily there was no incident here.
Imagine a train is moving in its track and suddenly it sees 5 people in front of it, right? A train is moving and suddenly it sees 5 people in front of it. And in another track there is only one person. You are sitting in the control center and you have the ability to switch on put on a switch that can change the track of the train. So what do you think? Will you switch it on? If the train goes in its way, it is possible that 5 people will get killed.
Yeah.
If you change its track, it's possible that one person will get
One
killed.
person.
You have the ability to change the track of train.
Yes.
So what will you do?
I'll change.
Change why?
Change the train to the one person.
What if you know that person and you don't know?
Changes. These 5 guys you don't know, but one guy there are no brakes in the train.
Yeah. No, train sees the person suddenly.
Train cannot brake.
Even if you apply
Even if
brake,
you brake, yeah,
it will
they
be-
can get killed.
Oh.
There is not enough time to stop. So there is no correct answer, right?
Yeah.
We don't know what to do, because if we go by what is right for society, then we should change the track of train.
Yes.
Because for society, 1% dying is better than 5% dying. But if you see from an individual right, then this person, the single person, should not be put in harm's way intentionally. It's his individual right. So we are in this dilemma that we should give preference to society rights or individual rights. So in future, let's say we are designing a driverless train, and we saw yesterday that in reinforcement learning we give the machines reward for every correct action and punishment for every wrong action. So for which of these two actions, going straight or changing track, we should give reward, and for which action we should give punishment, we don't know. Right? Another case of ethical dilemma in driverless cars can be, let's say you are teaching a car to what to do when a person wearing a earphone comes suddenly in front of him, suddenly in front of the car. So what should the driverless car do? If it brakes, it's possible that the people who are in the car may get injured, because suddenly braking may flip the car, or they may get injured. So the dilemma here is whether we should reward the car for applying brake, or whether we should punish the car. So these type of dilemmas come into picture whenever we are training the model. So we have to keep them in mind. And there are no right answers. You can choose any one answer and someone will come and say, no, you are wrong. The other one was the right answer. Okay, then there are privacy issues associated with AI, because data is the backbone of AI. Until we have data, we cannot train an AI model. And to train the models, all the big companies are using all of our data. So you must have read that ChatGPT has used all the data available on internet, Wikipedia, all the books that have been written till now, all the data. So many authors have claimed that on their books they had the copyright. So ChatGPT should not have used it. Fine. So here comes the privacy issue. You must have heard about Cambridge Analytica case, where they used data of millions of US Facebook users and used it to manipulate elections. So if someone was liking a post related to Donald Trump, then Facebook used to send ads related to Donald Trump to all his friends, because if he likes it, maybe his friends also like Donald Trump. So data of millions of users were used to fuzz the elections. Again, many governments are using the facial recognition technology to keep an eye on their citizens, that where they are going, what they are doing, all these things. So this leads to privacy issues which are wrong. But ChatGPT might say that I have used all the data to make my model better, but on the books, on the paintings that they have used to train the data, the one who has created those books and those paintings, they should have copyright, and ChatGPT should not have used it. Then information control. So nowadays you get personalized ads. So if you search for shoes on Shopee, you start to get ads related to shoes on your Facebook, Twitter, everything, right? So once they get hold of your data that you were searching for shoes, then they feed that everywhere, and so everywhere you start to see their ads. Twitter, Facebook, once you watch movie of a genre, once you watch video of a genre, you start to see videos related to that genre only. So they are using data and AI to tell us that what you should see. So this is also wrong. Finally, there is a fear that around 15% of our jobs will be taken over by AI by 2030. So at one side, AI is very useful, making our life easy, but for around 15% of people who are not very technically sound, AI may prove disastrous and their jobs may go. So we have seen these ethical issues till now. Human bias, because of the data that is being used to train AI, the data is biased, so the model is also reflecting that bias. In decision making, autonomous vehicles, we saw we don't know for what decision we should give reward and for what decision we should give punishment. Then we have privacy issues, information control issue, and our jobs are in danger. Yeah, I think Nishant can take it.
Okay, I think we are almost at the end. So this is related to legislations. As I told earlier, this happened last week only. So new laws have come from US. Very verbose. I'll just say in brief what this means. First one, they have asked companies that whenever you are rolling out any AI-based models, before you roll it out to customers, your clients, you must give it to government, share the test results, and then only go ahead and release commercially. That's number one. Number two, there is a standard institute in Malaysia also you have got, which basically sets out implementation for ISO standards and all. That institute has been tasked, this is US context, has been tasked to develop standards for AI applications also. Okay. Next is, if you generate any AI content like what Pranav was teaching you, image generated by AI, video generated by AI, you should write that content in the bottom somewhere, content generated by AI. So clearly label it, it's not an original one, it's a AI generated image. There are some controversies already happening all over the world, deepfake images, somebody drew of Tom Cruise playing golf and all, some not very good vulgar videos have also come through, but because you can generate, so you can put any faces. But law requires to label it correctly. Next. Cybersecurity program applies to AI tools also. So when you are testing your servers, network, similar testing, similar scope should be applicable to AI tools. If military is using AI, then they have to follow certain protocol. That is next point. This is for agencies, which is government agencies. So if a company says that, look, privacy data is adequately managed in my application, then the body should be industry body should have a method to test those privacy control measures also. Merely saying that I am not keeping your personal data, credit card data and all that is not good enough, or merely saying that I don't know how model is working, that is not good enough. You need to demonstrate that privacy is properly preserved. So this is focusing on privacy side. Next is discrimination. We saw it again and again. AI discriminating among different colors of people, communities of people, largely because it was not trained properly. So the algorithmic discrimination should be handled. Okay, fairness in criminal justice system. If courts are using, judiciary is using AI, they should ensure that the basic principles of criminal justice system are not overridden by AI. AI should continue to follow that principles. Then workplace safety. If people are getting displaced, if jobs are lost because of AI, then adequate protection measures must be taken by the parties implementing. So this is to safeguard the interests of workers. So company or the government agency should adequately either train them, deploy them elsewhere, so that onus is also being put. And then there is a point on AI research, since many of this research could be costlier and smaller businesses may not be able to afford it. So the legislations propose that there should be an ecosystem to facilitate adoption, maybe free version and all those pilot versions, adoption of AI tools by small businesses also, so that they are not lost in this race. Okay, next. Right. Yeah. Promote a fair, open, competitive AI ecosystem, smaller businessmen, agencies, clear standards to protect right and safety. This is for government agencies. And likewise, in hiring of AI professionals, government should speed up, because it requires different set of skills. Not all governments might have this US context, so they are asking human resources departments to also stand up to the challenge. Okay. Right, some other developments. So these companies, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, they all have agreed, the previous thing, which to share their test results and models with the government before they release. And then there are some other developments happening. In UK, safety summit has happened. So 28 countries have signed. I think Malaysia, I'm not sure Malaysia is within those 28. But basically, in any case, more and more countries would be joining. India is leading a global partnership on AI, and China is quite ahead in the AI game. But again, their share is more on Mandarin related corpus, right, models. Okay, we'll see the Malaysia context after this, right? So this is journalism related. It is interesting to you because maybe you guys are close to content space. So I think here it's just again talking about the dilemma. So for example, if media houses are using AI, how much vocal they should be? Should they be transparent about using it? How are they handling fake news? If anyone just send a video, create some AI stuff using AI, create some controversial subjects, forward it few places, send it to media house, and they run it assuming that everything was true, right? So that creates a problem. So they should have mechanism to test whether news or a video is fake or not, right? Otherwise, who would be responsible for that wider dissemination of fake information? Okay. Malaysia, right now there are no laws, AI specific laws to counter, let's say, model deficiencies, AI system failures and all. What you have still is the prevalent 2-3 laws. First is PDPA, Personal Data Protection Act. Since models are using data and data can be private, so data privacy still holds. So you can make a company accountable if you see that your data is used in AI system without your consent properly, right? The other safeguard you have is the Copyright Act. Somebody creates a Rembrandt kind of painting using AI and start selling. Let's say you are already you are an artist, you sell your work. If someone is using AI to do that, then you can sue that person under Copyright Act. So summary is the existing legislations are what you have right now. There is a national AI roadmap 21 to 25. I think efforts are on like other countries. Malaysia is also developing standards in this space. It's good to know that there are something in place. PDPA data is very, very stringent, and it can really hit you in a bad way, particularly in countries like in Europe. The GDPR laws are very stringent. The fines are very, very heavy, right? Asian countries still, you ask a vendor that, okay, give me 10,000 names, people, their phone numbers, you can still buy it here also. But some of the Western countries, compliance is better here. But beyond that, by and large, there is not much protection for you as a user or even for corporates. But things are moving towards a better state, right? I think that is all we have. So if I have to quickly summarize, I think what things we did was basics of AI yesterday, ChatGPT, Hugging Face. Then this morning we went through some financial technical analysis indicators. We also looked into Python code, how you can read data from database, from Excel files. Then we looked at some AI use cases. You watched movie a little bit. Then blockchain, IoT, and finally the ethical issues in AI. What we will do after today is maybe share some of the snippets, some of the slides, some of the information, for example, Hugging Face and all. Python code also happy to share, and maybe we'll share with Adli, and then he shares with the whole group. Good. All right. Anything you want to ask now? Data. Keep analyzing it. There is a solar panel here, which keeps the system on, right? Draws power, charges, recharges, and keeps everything on. Because of this device, it always floats. Data is transmitted to EPA, Environment Protection Authority agencies, and they will analyze the data. Right? So it's a self-sufficient system, very simple, does the work. Okay. Okay, so this is a summary of most of the things that we saw where we are applying. I think media example we didn't see. Rest of the thing, home automation, manufacturing, healthcare, infrastructure, energy, we saw. So these are some of the areas. Better quality of life for elderly. So using IoT, I think this is also happening. At least in India, I know people whose kids are staying in, let's say, abroad, US. They want to monitor their parents here, grandparents, parents. So because they are using those smart wearables, you get alerts there, and then you can notify, or your relatives here get an alert, and then they can notify doctors or take actions. Right? Hospitals are tapping on this because they have an opportunity to refill medicines. They have an opportunity to ask for proactive diagnostic tests and all. Okay. So that's pretty much on the IoT. What we have next is the ethics and regulation part of AI. AI. Okay. Same thing. I think US we saw the black people versus police. White police cases. This is another example of bias in our society. Okay, this happened again this year, just few months back, and I think we mentioned yesterday also Samsung case. They had to ban ChatGPT because their programmers were using it and submitting the code. Slowly, ChatGPT got almost entire code of the modules that they were working, and their trade secrets are out. They could not retrieve it. They could not nullify the data that ChatGPT got, and other vendors, other companies, they could get a competitive advantage. So there is a risk. Almost all the Wall Street banks also banned ChatGPT. So a very, very cool technology. We all like it. It does a number of things very well, but then there is a risk of sharing or compromising your confidential data, personal data, if you use it without applying that kind of reasoning, right? So safeguard should be there at workplace if you are using such kind of free tools. I think there are even outside of AI, sometimes if you have to convert PDF to doc, we just go online, search, submit a PDF, and then gets a doc converted. But what we always miss is that PDF is saved on somebody's server, right? So we have to be careful with this. There was that Google Uber video. Okay. Now this is another tragic incident that happened around 5 years back. So Uber was testing their self-driving cars, right? And this was in US, Arizona, and it was I think late evening, very late evening, 7-8 p.m. around, and their guideline was there has to be a co-driver. So the car was driving on its own, and then a co-driver has to sit to take control of the steering in case any emergency happens. Now the co-driver was a lady, no offense, lady, gents, anyone, does not matter, and the person was watching something on mobile, right? Suddenly something came in the front. The AI system detected. Initially it thought that okay, there is an object. So actually a lady was crossing the road, and she was having a bicycle. So instead of riding, she was just driving it along, walking aside it, right? So the usual training for AI on someone riding a bicycle is there's a little bit of speed and faster than what a pedestrian would walk, right? And it's in this direction. You wouldn't generally think that a cycle will come across the road, right? That's number one point, right? Cycle or car, anything will walk like this, right? Not like this. That's number one. Number two is, in all the training, they trained as someone riding on top of the bicycle, not like holding it and walking, right? So the AI system could not initially recognize that there is a bicycle. I think by the time it recognized, it was just 1.3 seconds from impact. It recognized and sent an alert that there is a person with bicycle crossing the road, and this car was getting driven at around 80-90 km per hour. It hit that person. See the damage that it caused. And play the video. Very, I think 10 seconds or less, but you can see.
Almost leading up to a deadly crash involving a self-driving vehicle.
Yeah, play again. Yes, sir.
Almost leading up to a deadly crash.
So it was a dark area. Are you able to see? Okay. Dark area. She should not have crossed like this. And then the other problem was, even the co-driver was watching mobile, and she was, I think, watching some streaming show. Unfortunately, that lady died. And then so the government had to ask Uber to stop self-driving tests and all. So for some time they could not do. Later restarted. There was a lot of investigation behind it, and finally the co-driver lady, I think she was charged with 3 months or 12 months, some sentencing. Uber got away with some fines only, because they could demonstrate that they had put everything in place. There was a co-driver. She was supposed to hold the steering, but she did not. So it was a fault on her side, and then it was fault for the. Are there any questions from people on the line or meet? Okay, I think everyone is okay. So with this, we are closing the session. Thank you for your patience over 2 days, and thank you for all hospitalities. Thanks a lot.